The Winnipeg Jets have a massive decision to make, and it is surrounding their young defenseman, Vilhaal. Scott Arniel has spoken out about his plan for him going forward. To break that down, as well as discuss a new move that the Jets have made ahead of some very interesting games coming up for the Winnipeg Jets. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, again, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're brand new. Jets Digest it is. If you're watching on this side, 73 subscribers. Let's try to hit 100 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, if you're over watching Darius's video on Hat Trick HQ, come on over to Jets Digest if you're enjoying the daily Jets content we produce every single day. Winnipeg Jets content. But Darius, a lot to go over today, and some very interesting things here. And the Winnipeg Jets, again, are getting involved, making moves. We have a bunch of things going on. They made a couple moves yesterday, and we're going to focus, though, on Vilhaal. And we actually spoke about it in yesterday's video about how kind of the Jets' decision and their plan for him is still kind of up in the air following his call-up. And you can see here from Scott Arniel, we've got a decision to make with him. We'll talk to him and see how we move forward here. We want to get him in games sooner than later, and he provided a progress report on Vilhaal. So I just want to get your thoughts on this, Darius. It's a very interesting one, and obviously, like you discussed in the video yesterday, a very young defenseman. He has a lot of potential. He was at the time of the trade with, of course, the New York Rangers for the Rangers to grab Jacob Trouba. There was question marks about, how important. He was a very highly touted prospect, and now question marks have started to arise following his injury. What are your thoughts on his future potentially in the NHL and finding an everyday role there and most likely replacing Logan Stanley and Hayden Fleury?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit in our last video on Hat Trick HQ at least, and even at Jets Digest as well, that, this is a guy, now he's activated, right? And off the IR, and he can play. And I think that's a big thing. And they're going to have to give him some runway here, I think, at least to see what he's got at the NHL level right now, because he hasn't played a lot over the last couple of years in the NHL. And it really isn't his fault. I talked about it a little bit in our last video, like I mentioned, that, he's had some really bad injury luck. And the Jets as well, like, time is ticking, right? They want this player to play in the NHL and they want him to continue to develop, but obviously he's had some bad luck. So I think this is a big thing, especially with Logan Stanley out. Now, the lines, which we'll get to in a second, aren't favoring him right now, but I do think that there is hope that he could get into the lineup and some, get a taste of NHL action as well, because, over the last couple of years, at least in the AHL, he has, put up some decent numbers, right? That, Jets fans want this guy to play. And if you look at his AHL stats from the last couple of years, 2 seasons ago being almost a point a game player, and then last season being about half a point a game player, he's put some decent seasons together in the AHL. But I think it's time. I think Winnipeg Jets fans want to see this guy in the NHL consistently, and obviously over a guy like Logan Stanley. But I will stay firm on, my belief that I think the coaches like guys with NHL experience. So Logan Stanley, if he's healthy, he's probably going to get into the lineup. But I think it's time. I think Winnipeg Jets fans want this guy to start at least getting into the lineup semi-regularly.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned his stats. I have him up here. 27 points in 2023 last season for the Moose. The year before, he put up 37 points. Like, again, points aren't the be-all, tell-all for defensemen especially, but Hanola has always kind of been known as a guy who can put up points, especially, of course, with his time. And I mentioned it in the last video on Jets Digest and Hat Trick HQ. In 2021, like, he had a brief stint, even back to the COVID season in 2020 with the Jets. He played, 27-odd games in the NHL, and he's done fairly well, specifically that stint in 2021 with the Jets when he put up 5 points. He was a, -2. So he still has some work to do defensively. But I think ultimately at this point, it's going to be interesting. I want to see them throw him in the fire a little bit. There's no reason. I mean, there could be a couple reasons not to, but I think your options, again, Logan Stanley is currently out. He's progressing. I'll probably be back in a week or two. But compared to Hayden Fleury, I wouldn't mind if they gave this guy a chance. I like the way he's been playing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do at the NHL level, especially given the fact that, he's a young guy. He's still, but even though he is young, he's been around for a while now. So maybe finally give him a big chance. But the big thing is like the Jets blue line has been pretty secure for the past handful of seasons. They've been competing every single season. They've yet to have a season where they've done bad and missed the playoffs by drastic margin. So it's gonna be interesting. Let us know down below. Do you want to see Vilhaal get into the lineup very soon? But let's talk about quickly now the other move they made, and it's a very brief one, but what we want to focus on now, of course, they assigned a Dom to the ECHL Norfolk there. But I want to talk about the goaltending because, of course, Dom is a goaltender now for the ECHL. The depth of this goaltending has been and is a huge selling point, a strong point for this team. You look at their NHL goalies. You have Connor Hellebuyck, you have Eric Comrie, and then you have, of course, Kakinen in the AHL, a guy that has also played a ton for In the NHL, obviously they got off waivers from the Minnesota Wild, and he has a ton of NHL experience as well. But it's very rare, Darius, that you see a goaltending tandem. Obviously, Hellebuyck and Comrie, but they have arguably the best goaltender in the NHL and the best goaltender for the past handful of seasons. But in the AHL, and of course your backup goalie, all the way down to the ECHL, you have so many options down there to where if by some bad luck or whatever happens, Hellebuyck has to miss some time, you are taken care of both at the NHL level and below that.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, Hellebuyck, I mean, the NHL goaltending is fantastic, what they have right now in Comrie and Hellebuyck, and it's been that way for some time as well, right? And you have NHL caliber goaltending now in the AHL as well. So like you said, if there is an injury, you're fine. You have NHL experience coming back up into the lineup from the AHL. So it's really deep in that way. And a lot of people forget, I mean, this is a somewhat a big move, I guess, in the ECHL with one of the easiest names to pronounce in hockey right now, Dom DiVincentis. And he was the OHL goaltender of the year in 2023. So a lot of people forget about that as well. This is a really good goaltender. He's young. He's still making his way up. And sometimes it takes goaltenders till they're like 25, 26 to really make an impact. Even longer sometimes, right? We're only seeing Spencer Martin become an NHL regular in the NHL right now, for example. So I think this is fantastic for the Jets. They're really solidifying some depth there at the goaltending position. And in a lot of positions, honestly, their depth in terms of prospects is pretty good as well. Like they have a lot of guys in the pipeline. So I think this is, while it's a depth move and a lot of people will forget about it, I think this is something to keep an eye on in the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, for DiVincentis, it's interesting because, again, big move in the ECHL, but it's more so important for kind of just the depth that they have going forward at all levels for them. And again, speaking of goaltending, Connor Hellebuyck's starting routine is underway today. He is the starter tonight against the Florida Panthers, and this is their chance tonight. Just to preview the game a little bit, it's their chance to get their payback. They obviously lost 5-0 against them a couple nights ago. They're now lost 2 in a row. They're 15-3. They're still sitting very pretty. But when you're looking at the line rushes, they remain the same. Connor, Scheifele, Vilardi, Perfetti, Nemestikov, Ehlers, Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton, and of course Morgan Barron, Rasmus Caperi, and Arniel. So it's going to be very interesting now to see what happens with all of these different guys. Again, Gustafsson is the odd man out. He's been rotating in and out. You have, of course, Iafallo, who's been a very solid fourth liner, albeit getting paid a lot of money. Yeah. But the big thing here, again, the defenseman group. Hellebuyck starting tonight. You have Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, Fleury, Miller. Again, Fleury is the only guy that's kind of the odd man out in this group. He hasn't been playing necessarily bad, but at the same time, your alternatives right now would be Logan Stanley once he returns and Vilhaal, who's also not super crazy. And as you look at the power rankings, the Jets have fallen in a lot of these all the way down to 6th after just a couple of losses. So whether you want to call it disrespect, whether you want to call it, again, these power rankings are based on the past week usually of play. So you can argue that at this current juncture, the Jets, they deserve to fall a little bit, but I think the Jets take care of business. We said it yesterday, both of us. I think they take care of business with these lines, and I think they take care of business against the Florida Panthers in tonight's matchup. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a revenge game. You want to win against the Florida Panthers. And to go back to the lineup for just a second, I mean, maybe you would like to see Villanova get back into the lineup, right? And, see what he's got this season at least, but I'm not sure that's going to happen here. I think they're going to go with experience. Hayden Fleury looks like he'll play. And then Logan Stanley looks like he's going to be back in pretty short order here. And then you only lost 2 games and you fell to 6 on the power rankings. I think that's pretty crazy. Maybe it is a little bit of disrespect. Maybe I'll go out and just call it that. It might be a little bit of disrespect, but they fall to 6. And I think they have an opportunity here over the next couple of games, especially this road trip, to continue to build on this fantastic and historical start to the season. So, you know what? I think that's just a number right now. I think they've had a fantastic start to the season. They want to get back on track, and no better way than, a home and home with the team that just beat you and embarrassed you the other night on their home ice. So they have a chance here to do the same on home ice.
Yeah, I don't think Jets fans are unfamiliar to disrespect, so we'll take it in stride and keep on, or Jets fans will take it in stride and keep on rolling. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on all of this. A lot of news, and again, we're going to keep you up to date with Daily Jets news. We should have a video later tonight following the Panthers game. Stay tuned for that. See you guys later.